Good evening, I'm Joe Skrzyszewski, and thanks for tuning in to KMOT First News at 6. We begin tonight with charges filed following the death of an infant last week at a Minot area daycare. The Ward County Sheriff's Office says they responded last Wednesday to Marked with Joy Daycare for a report of an unresponsive 15-month-old, and the child was later pronounced dead at the hospital. Investigators say they discovered that the daycare was unlicensed, and the owner, Joyelle Johnson, had her license previously revoked by the state for a 2020 incident. The Sheriff's Office says Johnson was arrested for 2 counts of operating a daycare after license revoked. They're B misdemeanors. The investigation into the child's death is ongoing.